ओम स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतार वरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयोः श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। नमः श्री यतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। So let us continue with our study of the Leela Prasanga or Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play. We are just on the threshold of Thakur's first vision of the Divine Mother, a very significant and important spiritual experience of Sri Ramakrishna. ठाकुर का जो पहला जो माँ के दर्शन हुआ था, हम लोग वही जगह पे आ गए। So he was crying and praying to the mother, and was crying bitterly. He implored very piteously, "Mother, I've been praying to you so long. Why don't you listen to me? You showed yourself to Ram Prasad. Why won't you show yourself to me?" The master described what happened then. उसके बाद क्या हुआ? There was an unbearable pain in my heart because I could not have a vision of mother. Just as a man wrings out a towel with his all his strength to get the water out of it, so I felt as if my heart were being wrung out. I began to think I should never see the mother. I was dying of despair. In my agony, I asked myself, what is the use of having this life? Suddenly my eyes fell on the sword that hangs in the mother's shrine, Khadga. I decided to end my life then and there. Like a madman, I ran to the sword and seized it. Then I had a marvelous vision of the mother and fell down unconscious. Afterwards, what happened in the external world or how that day and the next passed, I don't know. But within me, there was a steady flow of undiluted bliss that I had never before experienced. And I felt the immediate presence of the Divine Mother. So this is a very, very significant and extraordinary incident in Sri Ramakrishna's life. See, imagine, the intensity of his feelings. भगवान की माँ की पानी के लिए ऐसा कोई व्यवहार करें. I mean, it's even difficult to imagine that he felt as if someone was wringing his heart like a wet towel. Thakur was fond of this example. Even when Akshay passed away, he said, next day I felt evening as if somebody was wringing my heart like a wet towel. एक गिला हुआ कपड़ा का आप कैसे पानी निकालते हैं उसी से. So imagine the agony. I mean, it's not even, we are not even able to imagine how intense was his suffering. कितना उनका तकलीफ हुआ जिसकी वजह से उन्होंने सोचा आज जीवित रहना कोई फायदा नहीं है. No point in living. What is the use of this body if I don't have mother's vision? Let me put an end to it. खत्म कर दो. I mean, obviously, that is why, why this Ramakrishna avatar is so important. You see, जब भी कोई अवतार आते हैं 400-500 साल 600 साल 1000 साल की बात, सबको हम लोग all the things, so many things, mystical, mysterious things are written about them. हम सबको हम ऊपर एक जगह में रख देते हैं, फूल चढ़ाते हैं, धूप जलाते हैं. But Thakur's case, he talks of practical spirituality. Even if you talk of Rama and Krishna and all that, उन लोग का साधन के बारे में हम लोग कुछ नहीं जानते. What sadhana Sri Ramchandra did, what sadhana Sri Krishna did, they were as if born with extraordinary divine powers from the birth itself. कन्हैया के बारे में तो वैसे ही बचपन से 1 month old, 2 month old child doing miracles. That's what he hear. At least in Ramchandra's life, there's no display of miracles, but his behavior was also exemplary. साधारण मनुष्य की जो संभव नहीं है, इसलिए कि मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम कहते हैं. But in this particularly, that's why in this Kali Yuga, when people are so materialistic, everything is destroyed now. All ideas, all values, even between पति पत्नी के बीच में भी, brothers sisters तो ठीक है, even in the closest of relations, we have practically removed all the sanctity or the values, etc. So इस सब दिन में भगवान के बारे में कौन सोचेंगे? Who will think of God? But by chance, if you have any inclination, here is the way. कैसे करना, कैसे करने में आप भगवान लाभ प्राप्त कर सकते हैं, here is a practical demonstration. मैंने सोचा ये जीवित रहना कोई फायदा नहीं है, let me put an end to this life. And he went and took that kadga in his hand, about to put it to his neck. Then he had a extraordinary spiritual experience. इसके में भी there are some versions. Kiki, on another occasion, the master narrated to us in detail the same wonderful vision. It was as if the room, the doors, the temple, and everything else vanished altogether, as if there was nothing anywhere. And what I saw was an infinite ocean of light. That ocean was consciousness. However far, in whatever direction I looked, I saw shining waves, one after another, coming towards me to swallow me up. They were madly rushing towards me from all sides with a terrific noise. Very soon they were upon me, and they pushed me down into unknown depths. I panted and struggled and lost consciousness. Thus the master told us that during the first vision, he saw a shining ocean of consciousness. But was this pure consciousness, the Divine Mother Kali bestowing boons and fearlessness? Did the master see her in that ocean of life? It seems he did. We heard that when he partially regained his consciousness after that first vision, he uttered plaintively, Mother, Mother. See, उस समय क्या हुआ? Except him, nobody knew. And वो भी जब उस स्तर से उतर के आते हैं, he cannot exactly say what transpired there. उस समय क्या हुआ एकदम बिल्कुल सटीक बात नहीं कर पाएंगे वो भी. That's why his own versions are different at little different times. One thing is, it completely gone beyond the idea of body, mind, everything. He was immersed in that consciousness and he deeply felt the presence of mother. क्या माँ की उन्होंने क्या मूर्ति देखा, ये चतुर्भुजा खड्गमुंड धरा काली, उसका उन्होंने देखा ना. और in that ocean of consciousness, he completely felt the presence of the mother. इतना palpable था, जैसे उन्होंने इतना स्पष्ट उन्होंने अनुभव किया जब वही स्थिति से तोड़ा उन्होंने निकल के आते ही पहला शब्द उन्हें माँ माँ बोला, मदर मदर. So it's very difficult to exactly say or exactly know what exactly he did, what exactly happened, how he saw, how he experienced. It's very difficult to say. But it's very clear that was a major breakthrough or turning point in his life, क्योंकि ऐसे ही उन्होंने माँ के दर्शन कर लिया. What is this force called mother? ये माँ की जो शक्ति, ये क्या है? ये चैतन्य है. बोल रहे हैं एक चैतन्य के समुद्र, लहर पर लहर आता रहता था. One after another waves were coming and completely immersing me. I was not knowing what to do. I was being simply pushed down into great depths. और उसके बारे में और संज्ञा उन्होंने खोआ. He lost consciousness completely. And when he came back, and he says, somehow he was just feeling the presence of the mother. आगे तो बोले नहीं, उस दिन और अगले दिन 2 दिन कैसे बिताया, how that the next day passed, I really don't know. When this vision ended, an incessant and violent urge for a constant, uninterrupted vision of the Divine Mother's luminous form arose in the master's heart. वही ना, आप जो ठीक ठीक साधन करते हैं, those who really seek God, they are not just satisfied with some glimpse here, some there. एक बार में तुष्ट नहीं होते. कैसे हमेशा के लिए माँ के साथ कैसे जोड़ रहा हूं? How can I be eternally linked to the Divine Mother? How can I have her vision again and again, uninterrupted, without any break? That was his next quest. Because once someone tastes that, एक बार वो अनुभव सामान्य भी हो जाए, they can never be satisfied with anything less. And you have taken such a wonderful, say, any dish, sweet or anything. Any other version will not satisfy you. Only that, nothing else. उस दिन जैसे ले आता. So if that is so, in the ordinary world, कई बार हम लोग जाते हैं ना, suppose you go to a good place, oh let us go again. पहले बार गया था, कितना अच्छा लगा, you want to go again and again. If that is so for ordinary earthly experience, what it is, that is why they say it is a Swasamvedya. It is only known to the experiencer. It is avang manasa gocharam, beyond body, mind and speech. So it is not possible to describe. And once someone gets a taste of it, bas, और कहाँ भी हो नहीं रुकते. It never gets satisfied with anything else. So he wanted an uninterrupted vision of the luminous form of the Divine Mother, ever afterwards, not willing to compromise, not willing to settle for anything less. And then, although this longing did not always manifest itself externally through signs such as weeping, it remained in his heart all the time. पहले जैसे बहुत रोते थे, used to roll on the ground, etc., etc. But now it was little more, the external signs were more controlled, but हृदय में हमेशा ही अनुभव कर रहा था. Sometimes it would increase to such a point that it could not contain it anymore. इतना बढ़ जाता था, कैसे रुको उसका. Restlessly rolling on the ground with agony, he would pray, Mother, be gracious unto me, reveal yourself to me. He would cry so bitterly that people would gather around him to watch. He was completely unconcerned about what people might say when they saw him in that condition. If you are really interested in spiritual life, if you are worried about what X would say, what Y would say, what my relatives would say, what so and so will say, nothing will happen. सब कुछ छोड़ फोड़ के. He never bothered. जब जमीन पे कोई ऐसी, if somebody rolls, somebody was thinking he must be having severe pain or this or that, or all kinds of the crowds will gather. What, he was absolutely unaware of anything. He would not look in any direction. See, हम लोग का जब तक, when we feel we are completely within this cage of body and mind, when you are constantly worried about what others, see, we are not worried about what I think about myself. I am worried about what others think of me. That's the problem. Do we ever think that whether I am worried about what I think about myself? Rarely. Always we are worried about what others would think. But if you are deeply involved in spiritual pursuit, then world and all, chodo, kuch bhi nahi. Who cares? That is the attitude that one develops as one goes deeper into spiritual life. He was completely unconcerned. He later said, I scarcely realized the presence of people around me. उनका पता भी नहीं था ऐसे चारों तरह लोग वहां खड़े हुए. They looked more like shadows or painted pictures than real objects, and so I did not feel any shame or embarrassment at all. उसका कोई पता ही नहीं चलता था कौन है. He never used to even feel whether they are there. ऐसे ही उन्होंने इसीलिए बोला it looked like a shadow. So इसलिए मैं सोचता भी नहीं था. And then sometimes I would lose outer consciousness from that unbearable agony. Immediately after that, I would see the mother's luminous form bestowing boons and fearlessness. I used to see her smiling, talking, consoling, or teaching me in various ways. जब भी बहुत ही ऐसी उनकी व्याकुलता बढ़ जाता था, and the intensity of his longing would increase, then he would lose his consciousness, outer consciousness. And then you would see inwardly that luminous form of mother, that abhay pradhan kar rahe, bar de rahe, that granting boons and fearlessness. I used to see her smiling, talking, consoling, or teaching me in various ways. इतनी नजदीक उन्होंने अनुभव किया. It was so intense, so personal, so clear. That is why when Narendranath came and asked, yes, I have seen. Not only that, I can show it to you. सिर्फ मैं देखा नहीं, तुमको दिखा सकता हूं. And I see him more clearly than I see you. So obviously Narendranath was completely, the tire was flattened, so to say. He was totally, completely, overwhelmed by this statement of Sri Ramakrishna. So it continues, the sadhana and the ecstasy. After the first vision of the Divine Mother, the master was so absorbed in bliss that he was incapable of doing any work. Naturally, if somebody is so deeply absorbed, how can do any such work? क्योंकि आप काम कैसे कर पाते हैं when we are able to put our mind into it? साधारण भी कहाँ गलतियां हो जाती, where people make a lot of mistakes, do this way, that way, because their mind is not there. They are not able to concentrate. They are not to pay attention. But if a person is, if the mind is completely given to God, how to bring that mind to this worldly level and do any work? Even puja was a big problem for him. He could not do anything that way. That's why, when and Sri Krishna, actually, Sri Krishna also wanted to teach Uddhava a lesson. Uddhava was considered a great jnani, no doubt. But Bhagavan Krishna wanted him to realize the depth of devotion of the gopis. Gopis का क्या उनका भगवान की प्रति जो प्यार, इसलिए उन्होंने भेजा, आप जाओ जाके समझाओ. तो उद्धव बोल, because he had come from Krishna, they would all entertain him. तो उद्धव उनका संदेश दे रहे, अरे आप तो मन ही मन ध्यान करो ना, कृष्ण क्या आप देख पाएंगे? अरे आप क्या बात कर रहे हैं? What are you talking? Do you think that we have our minds with us? वो कब चुरा लिया था? When he has stolen and taken away all, हम लोग को तो अपना कोई मन ही नहीं है, मैं कहाँ ध्यान करूं? So then Uddhava understood. So great was the devotion of gopis for Sri Krishna, he could get a glimpse of that. So he was advising, but they say, what are you talking? Do you think that we have our minds with us? They were all been stolen away long ago by Krishna. So obviously, Thakur has given all his mind to the mother. वैसे तो even before his puja etc. was quite irregular. अपने ढंग से करते थे. वो जितना करता था वो भी अभी कर नहीं पा रहा. Even that much he is not able to do. Because later he told us some of the thoughts and experiences that he had in those days during worship and meditation. पूजा और ध्यान के समय क्या होता था? There is an image of Bhairava in meditation on the parapet of the Nath Mandir in front of the Kali temple. वहाँ के दीवार पे भैरव की मूर्ति, I think now also you can see it is there. So while I would point to that image and tell my mind You must meditate on the mother like that motionless statue. कोई हिलना डुलना नहीं है, ऐसे स्थिर बैठे हुए ध्यान लगता है. No sooner did I sit down to meditate, then I would hear cluttering sounds in all my joints, beginning in my legs. It was as if someone inside me were turning keys to lock me up, joint by joint. I was powerless to move my body or change my posture even slightly. Imagine what kind of meditation. हम लोग तो 1 मिनट के अंदर 4 बार पैर बदलना पड़ता है हम लोग का. But somebody locks all your joints. You can't even हिलना भी संभव नहीं है. Like statue, like motionless ही बैठना पड़ेगा. I wanted, even if I wanted, I was forced to sit in that posture until my joints became clattering again and were unlocked, this time beginning at my neck and ending in the legs. Huh? So, बंद करते थे पहले पैर से होते होते कंठ तक, सॉरी अप टू गर्दन तक, एंड देन अगेन अनुलोम विलोम की तरह. When the meditation is over means whichever way mother decides, because he had surrendered his will so much, so completely to the Divine Mother, so he did not have his own will. He was forced to sit, so to say. It was over, and then starting from neck, all the joints will be open, and then only you could move, and then only you could get up. I mean, it's all very difficult to even imagine the language, imagine the way Sri Ramakrishna is explaining. But this much is clear that he was so deeply absorbed that he had no idea of the outside world. And he was immersed in that. And he was experiencing a great sense of joy and bliss in that. इतना तक हम लोग समझ पा रहे हैं. When I sat to meditate, at first I would see particles of light like swarms of fireflies. Sometimes I would see masses of light on all sides, covering everything like a mist. At other times, I would see that everything was pervaded by bright waves of light like molten silver. I would see those things sometimes with eyes closed, sometimes with eyes open. So I think, with higher states of meditation, is jyoti, light is a big factor in it. She also saw light, sometimes like molten silver. And then he could see them sometimes with eyes open, sometimes with eyes closed. So adept he had become in meditation. I didn't understand what I saw, nor did I know if it was good or bad to be having such visions. And also, whether it is good to have such visions, no idea. So I prayed anxiously to Mother. I don't understand what is happening to me. I don't know any mantras or incantations to call you. Please teach me how to know you, Mother. If you won't, who will? I have no refuge or guide except you. Thus I used to pray with one pointed mind and cry profusely with a longing heart. So, संपूर्ण रूप से माँ के चरणों में समर्पित एक जीवन, a life totally surrendered at the feet of the Divine Mother. इसलिए उनका हमेशा ये करते थे, क्या ये करना, क्या करना नहीं करना आप ही बता दो. I have no idea. You please teach me. If you don't teach, who else will teach? Please teach me. Whether it's all happening, it's good or bad, it's correct, I don't know. During this period, the master's method of worship and meditation underwent phenomenal changes. पहले तो थोड़ा होता था, अभी पूरी तरह बिगड़ गया. क्या हुआ? It is hard to explain his wonderful ecstatic mood, his simple and childlike reliance upon the Divine Mother, and the beauty of his self-surrender. इतना माँ को चरण में समर्पित ऐसा जीवन. So, in his behavior, there was no hint of an adult's seriousness, nor any effort to follow the customary rules of appropriate behavior, nor any attempt to consider the future uh, and conduct his activities accordingly. लोग पहले करते हैं ना, कुछ करने में किसी को गुस्सा आ जाए, सावधान से चलें, so that they don't misunderstand. He has no thought of future. Completely surrendered to the mother. जैसे माँ से अंत तक वही उनका, that was his stand till the end. अमी यंत्र तुम्ही यंत्री. You are the operator, I am the machine. जेमन चलाओ तेमनी चल. The way you make me do, I do. So I have no independent view, will, anything of my own. So he was only constantly, completely relying on the mother, and because his spirit of self-surrender, there was no possibility of following any customary rules or trying to please somebody or भविष्य में क्या होगा, उसके लिए मेरा क्या करना है. Nothing. And then the master wholeheartedly adopted this attitude. Mother, I have taken refuge in you. I am your child. Teach me what to do. क्या बोलना बता दो. Thus, he plunged his little ego into the will of the Divine Mother and performed all of his actions as her instrument. Huh? It's all instruments of God only. As Sri Krishna also said, you become my nimitta matram bhava sarvasachi. You become nimitta. So become the karana, become the instrument. So he said, as the instrument of the mother, he was functioning. He had no independent will of his own. So he had completely taken refuge in her and only prayed her to teach him what to do and how to do. His conduct, therefore, becomes significantly different from that of other people. Public opinion began to turn against him as people criticized his behavior, at first in whispers, then openly. बोलेंगे, people used to criticize, अरे ऐसे ऐसे कर रहे हैं, मंदिर में जाके क्या कर रहे हैं, कांड कर रहे हैं, वहाँ पूजा टिक नहीं हो रहा है, वहाँ का सेवा टिक नहीं हो रहा है. They are right in their normal view. If an ordinary person without any spiritual background, if he does all that, obviously it's all seva aparad. That's why, we must understand, the pujas, etc., that we do, we must take every care to do everything properly. We cannot say that, ठाकुर जैसे खिला, मैं भी बिल्ली के पैसे खिला दो, भोग उठा के. We can't do that. Then they will drive us out. And that will be seva aparad. We must follow all the rules, regulations to the extent possible. Jitna sambhav karna hi hai, because we have not gone to that state of spiritual evolution. Where उनकी माँ छोड़ के कुछ नहीं देख पाते थे. No awareness of anything other than the Divine Mother. So obviously, he would do as the thoughts would appear in his mind at that time. ऐसे कोई पहले से ठीक नहीं कर पाते थे. It was not as if he had decided on everything beforehand. So his conduct became significantly different. हम लोग हमेशा है ना, दूसरे लोग क्या बोलेंगे, क्या सोचेंगे, ये सोच सोच के करते हैं ना, भविष्य में क्या होगा. He was not worried. Divine Mother was carrying out her wishes, and the vain clamor of the perplexed world did not reach his ears at all. The Master was then in the world, but not of it. जगत में तो अनुष्ठानिक रूप में रहा करते थे, लेकिन वो धरती के साथ कोई ही जोड़ नहीं था. He was not of the world. He was somehow there. The external world now appeared to be a dream. He could not make it appear real, as it had seemed before, despite his efforts to do so. सारी जगत एक स्वप्न की तरह दिखता था. इसके अंदर कोई ही reality नहीं. People experience this even, in a little different way. Supposing you are deeply affected by something, some death, some sorrow, huge loss. in so many ways. So these things are experienced by us momentarily. But the difference is the world becomes real after some time. May not be to that extent, but still, so many things still attract us. So many things make us participate. We do everything. But if something comes out of a divine intervention और भगवान के ऐसे कोई दर्शन से कोई अनुभूति से कुछ होता है, then that leaves a permanent mark. That person can never participate in the world like any other ordinary person. You can clearly see a person who is deeply evolved in spiritual life. कैसे जिरिंदर सिंह अर्जुन बोला ना, स्थित प्रज्ञ से का भाषा समाधि सस्य केशव सितदीप किम प्रभाषित किमासीत व्रजेत हिम. कैसे चलते हैं, कैसे बताते हैं, how does he walk, how does he move, how does he speak? Why? Because for us the world is very near, so we adjust everything according to the world. हम सबको चलना फिरना करना सब बाहर की जगत की तरह. If because the world is so real to us, we adjust everything according to the world. But if a person is deeply immersed in spiritual life or sadhana, for him external world is completely discarded. बाहर की जगत की तरह बिल्कुल देखते नहीं है, एक स्वप्न की तरह देखता है उनका. So the world loses its reality. You cannot participate in it. हम लोग का इतना क्यों मेहनत करते हैं, इतना उत्साह, इतना ऊर्जा, इतना क्यों? Because the world is real to us. But if you feel that नहीं यार कुछ भी नहीं है संसार में, then you will lose all interest. You cannot participate. कुछ भी कर नहीं पाएंगे. So that's what happened to him. The external world appeared to be a dream. He could not make it appear real. जितने भी प्रयास किया उसका सच्चाई नहीं ला पाए. The conscious and blissful form of the Divine Mother was his only reality. क्योंकि माँ के एक बार देखा, कोई ऐसे ही अनुभव हुआ, उस समय से वही एकमात्र सत्य वो देख पा रहे. Everything else seemed unreal. The only reality was the blissful form of the Divine Mother. ही तो भगवान का ऐसे थोड़ा भी अनुभव करने का, he had complete realization. Even if people get a glimpse of that, their life will be very different. Previously, during worship and meditation, the master would see the mother's hands or her shining, delicate feet or her beautiful, loving, smiling face. But now, even when it was not the time for worship and meditation, the master would see the complete form of the luminous Divine Mother, smiling, talking, accompanying him, and guiding him by saying, do this, don't do this. They say, for many, even Ramlal Dada used to say after that Kalpataru experience, when he was describing, he said, previously I used to see, पैर देखता था तो मुंह नहीं देख पाता था. If I could see the feet, I could not see the face. If I saw the face, I could not see the hands. But after this, I'm able to see the whole form of my Ishta Devata. So Dr. B पहले बोल रहे, पहले ऐसे से I could also see अंशिक, पैर नहीं तो मुंह नहीं तो कुछ हाथ. But after this experience, he says even if the eyes are open, he is able to see the complete luminous form of the Divine Mother. इतना तक नहीं, उनके साथ बातचीत करते हैं and उनकी सलाह देते हैं, ये करो ये मत करो, do this, don't do this. Even इतना तक माँ से उनका advice मिल रहा. Earlier in his sadhana, while offering food to the mother, the master would see a flashing ray of light emanate from the mother's eyes, touch the offered food articles, gather the essence, and then withdraw back into rice. उनको तो जब भी उन्होंने पूजा आरंभ किया, within a short time, their puja became very living and very real for Ramakrishna. So, when he would offer, he would see a ray of light emanating from mother's eyes. माँ की आंखों से एक ज्योति निकल के सब चीज स्पर्श करके उसका जो सार सब ग्रहण करके वापस चल जाते. It would take away all the essence and then go back. But now, as soon as he offered food, sometimes even before that, he would see the mother herself seated to eat the food. माँ बैठी हुई स्वयं, ऐसे ही इनके अनुभव हुआ. Bhog is offering, mother is sitting there. They lusted the body, pervading the whole temple. उनका जो शरीर से जो ज्योति निकल रहा था, सारा मंदिर आलोकित कर देता. Hriday told us that one day he went to the shrine and watched as the master took a hibiscus flower and a bell leaf in his hands to offer at the feet of the mother. He held them and meditated, but then he suddenly cried out, "Wait, wait, wait! Let me say the mantra first, then you can eat." तो उनका ऑफर करने के लिए बेल पत्ता अरे ले आ रहे हैं, ये अचानक बोल रहे, अरे इसे रुको रुको रुको, मैं पहले मंत्र बोल देता उसके बाद खाना. How real it was. How he could, I mean, we can't even imagine. He then offered food to the mother before finishing the ritual. जैसे तो वो पूरा करने का समय नहीं है, पहले खा लो. Used to offer. So these are all very, very, very extremely significant spiritual experiences. But obviously we cannot understand. But even when Holy Mother used to offer bhoga to Thakur, somewhere she says, in several ways, the master used to accept. Normally, this was a normal practice. When she would keep the offerings, a ray of light would emanate from Sri Ramakrishna's eyes and touch all the articles offered. सब जितने उन्होंने आइटम रखते थे, सब वही ज्योति से स्पर्श हो जाता था. And mother also had sometimes literally seen Thakur coming and eating. So here also very similarly, previously he used to see a ray of light, Jyoti, emanating from the mother's eyes. Now he was literally seeing her sitting, not only that, not ready to wait till the mantras are finished. Then he says, during worship and meditation, the master used to see the living presence of the mother in the temple, stone image of her. Now you could not see that stone image at all. पहले तो मूर्ति की अंदर दिव्यता देखते थे, अनुभव करते थे. That means what? He was conscious of the मूर्ति. मूर्ति के बारे में उनका तो सजाग थे, वो भी वो पता होता था. Here is the image, and within that image, he would see that mother living presence. But अभी बोल रहे, अभी मूर्ति ही देख नहीं पा रहे. There is no मूर्ति at all now. In his place was a living mother, the embodiment of consciousness. माँ स्वयं वहां खड़ी हुई, जो चैतन्यमय माँ. Her hands bestowing boons and fearlessness. जो अभय वर प्रदान करके माँ खड़ी हुई. Later he described what happened. I put my hand near the mother's nostrils and felt that she was actually breathing. नाक के नजदीक हाथ रख के वो अनुभव करते थे माँ श्वास ले रही है. At night I watched carefully, but in the lamplight I could never see her shadow on the temple wall. From my room I would hear mother running upstairs as merrily as a little child with her anklets jingling. वहां नीचे से ऊपर दौड़ दौड़ के जा रही है. I would rush outside to see if this was true, and there she would be, standing on the veranda of the second floor of the temple, with her hair blowing in the breeze. Sometimes she would look towards Calcutta, and sometimes towards Ganges. वहां तो तले में वहां देख पा रहे माँ खड़ी हुई हो. She's standing there. Her hair is blowing in the breeze. Or Hriday recalled, when one entered the Kali temple in those days, one could perceive an ineffable divine presence and feel an airy sensation even when uncle wasn't there. अंकुर नहीं है, कहाँ गए हुए. फिर भी जो भी प्रवेश करता था, they used to feel a terrific, tremendous spiritual atmosphere. That is the power of sadhana. That's why all those great places of pilgrimage, how they have become so vibrant. इसीलिए तो नारद बख्शु से सब कोट करते हैं, तीर्थी कुर्वंती तीर्थानी। आप जैसे से साधक जाके वहां जब ध्यान करेंगे, जितना साधन करेंगे उतना जागृत हो जाएगा, एक तीर्थ बन जाएगा। So that is a need. Whenever you go, you must pray, you must spend your time in such practices so that you contribute to the spiritual vibration of the atmosphere. ऐसे नहीं वहां जाके बाजार करना है, करना, घूमना फिरना, not that much. You have to spend time that way so that you are able to feel. कई लोग ना अरे बोलते हैं महाराज यहाँ क्या है, यहाँ इतना एक सुंदर एटमॉस्फियर। टू डेवलप दैट सेंसिटिविटी, आपका ऐसे कोई जगह पे जाने की भी अनुभव करने का उसका तरीका, एक चरित्र चाहिए ना। अनलेस यू आर लाइक दैट, यू विल नॉट फील एनी डिफरेंस। यू आर स्पिरिचुअली इंक्लाइंड, इफ यू आर अ साधका, यू विल फील समथिंग, यस यहाँ कुछ है। एंड मच मोर व्हेन ही वाज, जब ठाकुर रहते थे उस समय बहुत ज्यादा होता था, नहीं है फिर भी वहां का एक वातावरण अलग होता था। आई वुड हैव बट and much more news. I couldn't resist the temptation of seeing how he acted when he was performing the worship. पूजा कैसे करते हैं मेरा देखना इच्छा हो। As long as actually watching him, my heart was full of reverence and devotion. But when I left the temple, I would begin to have doubts, ask myself, has uncle really gone mad? Why else would he do such strange things? So जब भी देखता था अच्छा लगता था. The moment he would come away, you will think that whether uncle is really mad, why he is doing such things. I was afraid about Rani and Mathur Babu would say when they come to hear. It's the problem. Rani क्या बोलेगी, what Mathur Babu will say, नौकरी रहेगी कि नहीं, we don't know what will happen. That was his fear. He was not worried about devotion or divine mother, anything. What will the Maliks, what will they think? And if they think, then to Gaya. So he was afraid. But uncle was unconcerned and paid no heed to my warnings. हृदय की बात कैसे वो सुनेंगे? I didn't venture to speak to him much any longer. My mouth was closed by fear I couldn't describe. क्योंकि वो तो डर ही था ना, किसी वक्त मथुरा रानी रासमे के काल में पहुंच जाए. So he was not going to inquire anything about all that. चुप रहना. I felt there was some kind of barrier between us. So I just looked after him in silence as best as I could. Obviously, no, they cannot interact with Sri Ramakrishna at the same level. He was not a spiritual sadhaka at all. He was a very worldly minded person, always trying to improve his finances. Kaise mera, there are debts, etc. So I just looked after him in silence as best as I could, but I was afraid he would make a scene someday. उनका यही था, डर था, ठीक है मैं देख लूंगा लेकिन वो कभी कुछ कांड घटेगा यहाँ. He will do something. So he was really worried. Sometimes Hridaya would visit the temple during worship. Upon seeing the master's actions, he immediately felt awe, fear, and devotion. Later, he narrated the following to us. You see, he was afraid. उन्हें देखा, बहुत ही डर भी लग रहा था, क्या हो रहा है, what is happening to him, and he was deeply also impressed by his spiritual eminence. जैसे उन्होंने किया, he was very much enamored of that. I saw uncle taking hibiscus flowers and bay leaves in his hand, touching first his head, then his chest, then all over his body, and even his feet, and finally offering those at the feet of the mother. खुद ही अपना, normally, if you come to the ashrama, And suppose you find that I am first touching all my parts and then I am giving, ये तो पागल हो गया, चलो चलो इसका अस्पताल में ले चलो, बेलूर मठ में चिट्ठी लिखो, किसका भेजा है, पागल है. So naturally, they was also thinking, here is a madman. But उनका बोलने की साहस नहीं था. I saw and then I saw uncle's chest and eyes become red, like those of a drunkard. He would get up reeling from the worshipper's seat, climb onto the altar, caress the Divine Mother, sucking her affectionately under the chin. He would sing, laugh, joke, and talk with her. Sometimes he would catch hold of her hands and dance. The mother was so living for Sri Ramakrishna. And for an outsider, was no idea of all that, how terrible it would be. Someone going and dancing and someone touching the mother's sin, and then like that, offering first everything to himself and then to the mother. So he was totally confused. क्या होगा पता नहीं है, लेकिन something big is going to happen. कुछ यहाँ घटेगा, ये उसका समझ में आ गया. But he was always worried. ये मालिक लोग को पता चलने में जब खत्म हो जाएगा, खेल खत्म. So he was worried. So is how it was going on. Okay, we'll take it forward next time. It's very, very important and very interesting also. Huh? Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Sri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. सबको बोल के रखता हूँ. तो we have the Swamiji Sthiti Puja.